Mr Gray, and I congratulate the member for Innismore for bringing this important debate to the floor this morning. He's made a clear case for the importance of remaining either a full or associate member of Euratom. Many members this morning have spoken about their own constituency interests in this debate, and I'll mention a couple as we go through. One of the comments that I found most telling was by the member's, apologies, I don't know constituency, but when she said, if you ask people on the doorstep why they voted leave, would it be because of Euratom? Of course, people are unaware of what Euratom does, are unaware probably of its even existence, but it's fundamental to our everyday lives. Now, I'll give way to Honourable Member.
So, lady really saying that we can develop a list of all the organisations that weren't mentioned in great detail during the referendum campaign, that we now have to remain part of it just because we haven't had that full and open debate? Or is it actually, we voted to leave the European Union, that's what the British people voted for, we have to do that, and if it entails leaving Euratom, so be it, but we do it on the best possible grounds with a transitional period?
I think the Honourable Member's first point is the correct one. Yes, give us a list. Give us a list of everything we've agreed to leave, and let's start working out the mess that we've created here. I will.
To continue with her final comments. What is clear that the British people did vote for last year is to take back control over our laws, freedom from the European Court of Justice, the Commission and the Council. And of course, the EU and Euratom share an institutional framework through the ECJ, the Commission and the Council. Doesn't she think that by remaining members of Euratom, we're going to go behind what the British people voted for?
Absolutely not. In the SNP, we don't share the love of nuclear fission that those in the government benches seem to have, but it is a fact that we do have nuclear facilities in Scotland. In Scotland, our future lies in renewables. Last year, we had 59% of our energy needs came from that. But although we're moving towards a target of 100% renewable, we still have nuclear facilities, these still need regulations and these still need materials. Now, while nuclear safety is reserved, regulation of waste and emissions from nuclear sites is devolved. But once again, it appears that without any consultation with the Scottish Government on the implications for future regulations, we're being dragged out of Euratom as well as out of the EU. This is... I will.
Would the Honourable Lady agree with me that there hasn't been a single European Court judgment that has compromised any interests of Britain relating to Euratom, and that all the European Court judgments have related to technical aspects and details in relation to the treaty?
Absolutely, and I don't know about all the European Court judgments. However, it certainly is not something that many of us have heard anything about. So, yeah, Euratom has operated for 60 years very successfully, and now we seem to be taking ourselves out of the regulatory frame list. No, I'm going to make some progress here. Any future negotiations on whatever membership of Euratom, I hope it's full, but associate, must include the Scottish Government, since they are dealing with the regulations of nuclear facilities in Scotland. This has to take place. If I could mention the regulatory framework, some have mentioned getting their own framework in position. Of course, that's possible. We can get our own regulations in place. But the problem is we have a clock ticking here and not a lot of time. And these frameworks take many, many years, not the 20 months that we have available to us. So there is a real issue here. In terms of medical isotopes that have been mentioned by a number of members here this morning, the Euratom Supply Agency ensures a security of supply of medical isotopes for all members of Euratom. My honourable friend who has left now for Central Ayrshire gave us some statistics. She said 500,000 diagnostic scans are carried out annually, 10,000 cancer treatments are taking place as a result of these isotopes. But we do not produce our own medical isotopes. We cannot do that. We need to import these from other places. And those are used in medicine of very short half-lives, which mean they need to be transported quickly, and there's only a few facilities in the world that actually produce these. So a number of these reactors that are producing the medical isotopes are coming to the end of their useful lifespan. So there could be, in future, real issues in terms of supply of medical isotopes worldwide anyway. So this is not the time to take ourselves out of the agency that ensures that we have a supply there. I will do.
Would you agree with me that the real issue is that these Would you agree with me that the real issue with these radioisotopes is that the half-lives are so small that any delay in terms of hours of getting them to the UK would mean that they expire?
Thank you. Of course, as a fellow physics teacher, she'll know that the half-lives of things like technetium-99, which is used in medical diagnostics, has a half-life of 6 hours, which means after 24 hours it is pretty much useless, or its activity has dropped to a level which makes it inert. So these have to be transported and used very, very quickly from the point at which they are produced. The member for Oxford West and Abingdon has already given us a physics lesson on fusion, so I won't do that. But fusion is a field in which we are world leaders in the UK. And the member for Henley talked about Jet in his own constituency. It's one of the world's most important facilities, and Euratom's one of its main facilities. So we need to make sure that funding is continued. It's currently receiving about £48 million annually. The contract runs to the end of 2018, so we must make sure that pulling out of Euratom does not affect future funding for this. So finally, Mr Gray, what we need to be looking for, we need transitional arrangements for nuclear safeguarding, trade and funding until EU-UK negotiations are complete. And this should be done with the full consultation of the nuclear industry and community. We need to retain our membership of the European Observatory of Medical Radioisotopes and continue to work with Euratom and global partners to mitigate any shortages of medical isotopes. And we need to ensure that Euratom funding for our nuclear research projects continues. And finally, Mr Gray, I would say that the UK Government must involve the Scottish Government at every stage of the negotiation process to ensure that the deal reached works for Scotland's nuclear industry as well.